How do you name these coordination compounds? And that's a really good question. And this is one of the main reasons why I wanted to talk about this area. When naming a compound or ion, there are some rules. And the names that are going to come out, like that name in the lower right-hand corner there, at first look really daunting. But I'm going to teach you how to kind of break the names down. And actually, they're pretty easy once you figure out how this works. So we're going to go through some boring rules right now. Just kind of use them as needed, and I'll show you examples after. When you're naming a coordination compound, you still go cation first and anion second. So since Chem 221, it's always been sodium chloride, not chloride sodium, all right? Same thing, all right? Sometimes, though, the anions, the negative parts, will get metals. And if they do get a metal, you have to add an ATE ending. I'll talk about this more in a little bit. Ligands are always named before the metal, and they're named in alphabetical order. And most of the ligands have a -O ending to them, and I'll talk about this. If you have multiple ligands, you use Greek prefixes to tell how many there are. So in the lower right-hand corner there, you can see it's hexaamine. Hexa is a Greek prefix, hex for 6. Amine is going to be NH3, as we're going to see. So that's saying 6 ammonias, 6 amines with 2 M's, and that's a cobalt Roman numeral 3 complex there in the middle. The metal atom is named last, and you always include the charge or oxidation number, oxidation state in Roman numerals. So hexaamine means 6 ammonias, like I said. Cobalt Roman numeral 3 means that's a cobalt plus 3 compound. So that's what that means. That's why it looks so crazy. These names get long, but again, you need to kind of break them down into segments. No spaces are used between the complex name. So that's why sometimes these things just go on and on and on. No problem. Just break them down and you can see what's inside there as well. I do have a handout on coordination compounds. I encourage you to check it out. It has more of these rules and examples and stuff like that. We will also go through examples in this discussion as well. The neutral ligands are usually referred by their usual name, but there are some exceptions, and these are important exceptions. So water isn't called water, it's called aqua. And as we saw earlier, ammonia is not called ammonia, it's called amine. Oh boy. Carbon monoxide is carbonyl, hydroxide is hydroxo. So if you see any of these kind of things, just realize they're kind of messing with the names a little bit. Hydroxo is hydroxide, carbonyl, carbon monoxide, etc., etc. So amine up there means ammonia. Hexaamine, once again, 6 ammonias. Some ligands already have a Greek prefix in them, and if they do, you need to use the alternate prefixes to talk about it, and this is something we'll see. So earlier we saw ethylene diamine, the EN molecule. Well, the di in ethylene diamine could mean like an ethylene and 2 amines if you're not careful. So in this case, because the ligand itself has a Greek prefix, we need to use what's called bis tris tetrakis. This is the alternative way of talking about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc., etc. So in the formula in the lower right-hand corner, it says dichloro, that's 2 chlorines, but then notice how it says bis parentheses ethylene diamine. They're using bis there because ethylene diamine has a Greek prefix in it, the di. So we're going to, instead of saying diethylene diamine, which might seem like 2 ethylenes and 2 amines, bis ethylene diamine means 2 ethylene diamine molecules, all right? That's the idea. But if you hear it, bis is 2, tris is 3, tetra is 4, pentachus, etc., 5, blah, blah, blah. If your metal happens to be in the anion part, the negative part, then you change its name a little bit. And the names are kind of wild, but you basically want to give an ATE to your name. So chromium becomes chromate, gold becomes aurate, iron becomes ferrate, lead becomes plumate, and stuff like that. Zinc becomes zincate. Lots of examples of these kind of things. So here are some examples of how this works out. Now notice that all of those formulas, those are all anions. They all have an overall negative charge. So notice how the iron in the first one is called ferrate. The iron in the second one is ferrate, and the aluminum in the third one, aluminate is how sometimes people pronounce it, or illuminate. But anyway, you change the name of the metal, and that helps the chemist to know that the metal is in the anion, the negative part of the compound. I'll show some examples of this, more examples of this here coming up. But if you hear ferrate, plumate, cuprate, chromate, whatever, this is what they're referring to. The metal is in the anion. So let's do some examples. This is a cobalt compound. It has 6 waters around it and a +2 charge. Ligands always go first, the metal at the end with its charge. This is a positive cation, so we can use the regular name for cobalt. So water is aqua. There are 6 of them, so that's hexa. So it's hexa aqua, and we would call it cobalt, cobalt Roman numeral 2. So this thing is hexa aqua cobalt 2 ion. And again, the important part to know is that water is called aqua in these. I'm just the messenger. I don't quite understand all the things. But anyway, there are 6 waters around a cobalt +2 ion. Good to go. This crazy thing has a platinum in the middle. It has 2 ammonias and 2 chlorines, all right? So we have here ammonia, which is named amine, A-M-M-I-N-E. We have 2 chlorines, which are named chloro. And we're going to use some Greek prefixes on these. We'll use di, tri, all that kind of stuff. Now, amine goes before chlorine, so diamine, dichloro, platinum, but we need the charge on the platinum. Well, ammonia doesn't have a charge, but chlorine certainly is -1. There's 2 of them. There's no net charge on the molecule. That's going to be a platinum 2. But there's one more thing you need to think about with these. There's something called cis and trans when it comes to names, and this helps to explain why some molecules are more reactive and less reactive. Cis means that the like pieces are on the same side, and trans means that they're opposite sides. So notice in the diagram on the left right there, the chlorines are both on the same side of the platinum. They're within 90 degrees of each other. That's the cis version. On the other hand, the other one, the chlorines are basically opposite each other. They're 180 degrees. That would be a trans version. So if you see the little cis right there, that just means same side. So this compound is cis diamine dichloro platinum 2. And yes, you could have a trans diamine dichloro platinum 2. The chlorines would be 180 degrees from each other, and the ammonias would be 180 degrees from each other. So this is just another little perturbation to think about when you're naming these. This compound is a copper. It has 4 ammonias. That's a tetraamine. There's nothing else that has a charge. Ammonia is neutral, so it's a copper 2+, tetraamine copper 2 ion. All right. And notice, by the way, that the first one and the last one were both called ions because they have a charge. +2 there, +2 right there. But we didn't use ion in the cis-trans one because that's a neutral compound. So just all the joys of these things, nothing you can't handle. This compound has a lot of atoms. This is a nickel compound, and it has NH2, C2H4, NH2. That thing in the parentheses there is ethylene diamine. All right, ethylene diamine is a bidentate ligand where the nitrogens connect to the central atom, and you have the C2, CH2, CH2 kind of groups in the middle, and there's 3 of them. Now, ethylene diamine has a Greek prefix in it, so we can't call it diethylene diamine. Oh my gosh, that would be confusing. So this is where we're going to kick in the bis tris tetrachus, the alternative system. So this will be tris, because there's 3 of them, tris, parentheses, ethylene diamine, parentheses, and ethylene diamine is neutral, so that means this will be a nickel 2+ compound. There's nothing else to make the nickel do anything different. So tris, parentheses, ethylene diamine, parentheses, nickel, Roman numeral 2, ion. Good to go. So again, notice the use of the bis tris tetrachus system. Ethylene diamine has a Greek prefix in it, and that's when you use bis tris tetrachus. Normally we would just use tri and stuff like that, but not now. Vasca's compound has actually had some cool things to it, but the name of it is what we're trying to figure out right now. Now, this is an iridium center, IR. It has a chlorine, it has a carbon monoxide, which is a carbonyl group, if you remember the things right. But this thing right here, this is called triphenylphosphine, and there's two of them. Now, guess what? Tri of triphenylphosphine is a Greek prefix, so we couldn't use, di-triphenylphosphine. That would be too confusing, apparently. So we're going to use the alternate system. We're going to use bis parentheses triphenylphosphine. Now, iridium here is basically being balanced out by not much. Carbon monoxide is neutral, triphenylphosphine is neutral, but good old chlorine has a -1 charge. That means this iridium is a +1. So here it is in all its glory. The names are just crazy, but nothing you can't handle. Carbonyl for CO, and that comes before chloro, Cl. Then there's bis, because triphenylphosphine has a Greek prefix in it. Bis triphenylphosphine, iridium 1. You can see why people call it Vasca's compound, I'm sure, at this point. This crazy thing has a potassium on the outside. Those are counter ions, and they're balancing essentially whatever's inside the middle part. Now, cyanide, as we talked about earlier, is a -1 ion, and there's 6 of them. Cyanide gets the name cyano when it comes to this. However, notice that the square brackets part, that whole thing must be negative because potassium is listed first. The whole thing has to be a -4 if there's a potassium right there. So we need to figure out here the charge on the iron, okay? And the K4 helps us because those will give 4 +1 ions, but there's 6 -1 cyanides. So you see where this is going. +4 from the 4 potassium plus iron, we don't know what that is, plus the -6 from the cyanide is going to equal 0. So in this case, that has to be an iron +2. So this is an example where we're going to go back to the old sodium chloride nomenclature. The potassium will be the cation, and we're going to put a space between the potassium and the complex ion, which is the FeCN thing right there. So potassium space hexacyano, 6 cyanides. Iron Roman numeral 2 should be the name of this compound. But iron is in the anion. So we're not going to use iron 2. We're going to call it ferrate 2. We're going to give it an ATE name. So putting all of that together, potassium space, because potassium chloride or something, potassium would have a space, but then the anion there, hexacyano, 6 cyanides, and instead of iron 2, we're going to call it ferrate 2, because iron's in the negative part of the compound. So anyway, these examples just show that all of this is possible to figure out. You can turn a formula into a name and a name into formula, nothing you can't handle, but it is a little bit of a trip at first. So let's name this molecule. This is a nickel. It has 2 ammonias and 2 chlorines, okay? So it's 2 ammonia, A becomes before chloro, C. None of these things have di, tri, tetra, whatever inside them, so we can use regular Greek prefixes. Amine comes before chloro, so I would call this diamine for the 2 ammonias, dichloro for the 2 Cls. Overall, there's no net charge, so we have to figure out the charge on the nickel. 2 ammonias are neutral, but chloride's -1. There's 2 of them. Nickel has to balance that out with a +2. I think this is going to be answer D, diamine, dichloro, nickel 2, and we'll be good to go. Here are just yet some more examples. Bear with me as we go through them. Now notice that there's a square bracket followed by chloride. So this is back to the old days of like sodium space chloride. And the chloride on the end is going to be like a space followed by it. But there's also a chloride inside the square brackets. So the chloride and the 5 ammonias, they're going to be listed first before the cobalt. Then we'll have space chloride. Now in this overall molecule, there are 3 Cl, 3 -1 chlorines, and 5 neutral, no charge ammonias. So that is going to be a cobalt Roman numeral 3, cobalt plus 3. So we're going to name the chlorine and the 5 ammonias first, followed by cobalt. Then there'll be a space chloride. So for this one, I would call it pentaamine chloro, cobalt Roman numeral 3, because there's 3 chlorines, but then we're going to have a space chloride. And there's the little structure up there. And you can see how the one Cl is connected to the cobalt directly. The other Cl's balance out the positive 2 of that complex ion. So pretty cool, all stuff you can do. Cadmium here is part of the anion. This is an example. We would have potassium, space, some kind of anion. And in the anion part, that's where the cadmium is. So you've got tetracyano, 4 cyanides. Cadmium will be cadmate because it's part of the negative part. And if you figure out the charge, that's a cadmium 2. So I would call this potassium tetracyano cadmate 2. All right. The cadmium is connected to the cyanides. Overall, that part in square brackets is -2 if cadmium's +2. That's why the 2 potassiums are there to neutralize it. This compound has 2 ethylene diamines and 2 chlorines. Now, ethylene diamine doesn't have a charge, but again, chloride does. 2 negative ones means that's a nickel +2. So we've got chloro and ethylene diamine, dichloro, but you don't want to use di on ethylene diamine because, big surprise, it has a Greek prefix. So we're going to call that bis ethylene diamine, nickel 2. Let's put that together. Dichloro bis ethylene diamine nickel 2 is the name of the compound. This last one's kind of near and dear to my heart. In graduate school, I used to make this as a starting material. And this compound has 3 chlorines as well as 3 what's called tetrahydrofuran. Tetrahydrofuran is a solvent that can be used. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, notice in the name tetrahydrofuran, tetra is a Greek prefix. So we can't use ditris, those kind of things. We have to use bis, tris, tetrakis. And because there's 3 of them, we'll use 3 tris. Chloro comes before tetrahydrofuran. So we'll have trichloro tris tetrahydrofuran. And chromium here is +3. THF tetrahydrofuran is neutral. Chlorine's -3. Trichlorotris tetrahydrofuran chromium 3 is the fancy name for what I used to make right there. So anyway, I'm hoping these become more and more familiar, but of course, if you have questions on anything, let me know. Here's a molecule with an iron and 5 carbon monoxides around it. And the question is, what is the name of this molecule? So carbon monoxide is called carbonyl, and there are 5 of them. So that'll be a pentacarbonyl. But here's the interesting thing. Carbon monoxide is a neutral compound. So nothing in that compound has a charge except the iron. Well, iron can be positive, definitely, but nothing's negative to balance it out. And there's no +2 or -2 on it. So this is an iron 0 compound, and this would be pentacarbonyl iron 0. These do happen once in a while with transition metals. This was actually really useful in identifying how to purify certain types of metals. Carbon monoxide is deadly, but it can be really cool for isolating pure samples of metals. That's more than we need to talk about right now. But anyway, carbonyl has no charge. There's no positives and negatives. So that's elemental iron there being surrounded by 5 carbon monoxides. That cis and trans thing we talked about earlier, super important. We'll see it in this chapter as well as the next chapter. There's actually a cis version of that platinum compound as well as a trans version. The cis platinum is actually part of a series of drugs that are anti-cancer. They're oftentimes marketed under platinol AQ last time I looked. The trans form, however, has no anti-cancer form. So you want to have the cis form relative to the trans form. You might be able to see why that's the case. In the cis form, the chlorines are at 90 degrees from each other. In the trans form, the chlorines would be 180. If they're 180 degrees from each other, they're going to cancel out their polarity. But in the 90 degrees, there will be some active polarity. So the cis form is a little bit more polar than the trans form, and it can react, especially in these kind of conditions, to fight cancer, which is kind of cool.